that's perfect. Hello, hello,
You go.
hello. That's me. She's saying, hello.
Okay. I think I'm on the other side. So it's that side.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, hello.
So everybody move over to here. You think yours is okay?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
No.
Everybody's got a little bit of helium at that side of the table. Like in the balloons.
It's,
Hello.
I could pull up a dump truck and put all of this into the truck.
Well, we gotta get 2 months.
Testing. Oops. Ours is the same way.
Well, so if, maybe what we can do. We'll just sit someplace else, right? No, that's that whole side. Try the thing. Try the. So, Tony, when will that guy?
We'll deal with it through the roll call.
There.
Yes, no.
For the roll
Okay,
call,
so
we'll
if we
deal
just
with
turn
this.
off,
Yeah.
yeah, so if we just turn off that side
When the roll call.
I'll just call Chuck on.
and
I'll just, hello, that's better. That's better. Thank you. It's much better.
oh.
Yes.
Testing 1.
Testing 1, 2, 3. I think we're good.
Are we sort of ready? Gosh, I
Hello.
hope this is being recorded. Are we ready? Are we ready? All right, wait a minute, let's see what the official time, oh, we're late, okay. Chief, can I do this? Okay, I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Riverwoods. Will you please stand with me and say the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Mayor Ford,
Present.
Here.
Trustee Dickon.
Here.
Trustee Eastman.
Here.
Trustee Hollander.
Here.
Trustee Jamerson.
Here.
And Trustee Smith is
Absent.
absent.
Yes,
We do have a quorum, though. Thank you.
thank you. First item of business is approval of the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting for January 16th, 2024. Do I have a motion for approval, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments, additions, change suggestions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
Thank you. Next item of business is the Finance Director's report. First item is approval of the bills. Do I have a motion for approval of the bills?
So moved.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Trustee Clayton?
It's more of a policy question. I noticed that, I think it's on page 9 of the packet, that we had a $28,575 charge to Chicagoland Paving Contractors that was charged to MFT. And I thought our policy was that we were only using MFT for snow plowing and Saunders Road. So is this a change?
I'm not entirely sure. I know it's eligible to be paid for by the MFT. We can certainly take a look at that and see what we have in the file. I don't have a good memory on that. I apologize.
Maybe
Trustee
we-
Hollander?
Yeah, maybe we should confirm that that is the policy, regardless of where the money went, but maybe confirm that at this
Okay.
point.
Good idea.
I remember.
Trustee Jamerson?
I do remember the same thing that Trustee Clayton
Okay.
stated, that we were saving the money for Saunders Road.
Okay. And it's easy enough to certainly change that, the coding on that.
Yes, we can do a journal entry to reclassify that expense.
Okay. All right. I'm making a note on the policy. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments on the bills as they stand? All right. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Clayton?
Aye.
Trustee Dickon?
Aye.
Trustee Eastman?
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson?
Aye.
Trustee Hollander?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Are there any other comments that our finance director wishes to make at this time?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We just found out this month that Northbrook will be increasing their water rates for the potable water we purchase from them effective May 1st. This increase is approximately 2%. And while this may seem small, it is significant when you consider we purchased approximately $860,000 of water from them in 2023. We will incorporate this rate increase into the 2024 budget for the water fund.
Are there any questions for our finance director?
Are we thinking about raising our water rates?
I would suggest that we are.
Okay.
It should certainly be considered so that the rate can reflect what we're paying to purchase the water that's being passed through.
Okay. I just,
Yeah.
okay. There was no mention of it. That's why I asked.
No, not at this time. We're going through the budget exercise, and then I think we've got the stormwater management plus the water infrastructure. Can I ask a question before we go any further? Is somebody parked in front there and might have hit a button for their flashers?
Actually, in the handicap space.
Yeah.
It's not your car.
Chief, I hate to disrupt you over there, but could you?
Write him a ticket. Take your ticket book.
And we'll be, yeah. Sort of strange. Hope everything's okay out there.
Mayor?
Yes, Trustee Hollander.
Is there a way that we can automatically pass any increase to us on the water to the users of the water without, not as a policy, but as a way as when we get it, it automatically activates? Otherwise, there's going to be a delay in how we do that.
I think what happened last year, there was a delay because this rate is scheduled to go into effect June 1st. And we were considering the how much part. And that's part of the budgeting exercise that our finance director is going through right now.
Okay.
And we did notify, there were notes on the bills indicating to people ahead of time that the rate was going up. And now it's in reverse.
Just let us know if it doesn't stop.
It's turning, so that's actually just fine. Okay, well, During our police report, we'll have something really more current to report. Are there any other questions for our finance director? And I apologize to him for taking over that discussion.
I'll just confirm that we did send out a mailer informing people of the rate increase last time it was increased. And we certainly did get enough time here where we do have enough time to make a decision on if we want to increase the rate, take the steps to properly put that into place and to put the information out there for people if we make that decision.
Are there any other discussions, points that you'd wish to make? Okay. Thank you. Moving on, our treasurer's report. Our treasurer is not with us this evening. Director of Community Services report. Director Witt, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and trustees. I'd like to take this opportunity to provide a very broad overview of activities and projects that the Community Services Department has been involved since I started here last fall. This discussion does not include day-to-day operations and resident assistance that is necessary for the department to function as it should. I first would like to say that I could never take for granted all the hard work performed by Vivian on a day-to-day basis. Part of what the department does, it centers around her activities. She answers most of the questions from her residents. She processes and scans permit applications in record numbers, organizes special events that the village holds, issues all business and liquor licenses, and coordinates our consulting engineers during plan reviews, and gets that all usually done before her lunch break. I can't thank her enough for her contribution to the department. So I'd like to go through kind of area by area for the department. I'll make this as brief as possible, but it won't be. Permitting. January permits were down by 3 from December, reflective of the historically low permit application volume during winter months. However, the permit fees were up about 20% compared to the same time period in January of 2023. And Vivian deserves a break from the banner year she had in 2023 with the number of roof permits that came through. We currently have 4 larger projects that consist of additions and remodeling in the review queue. Some accomplishments in this area have included, we've created new checklists for general business and food service establishment inspections, building demolition permits, and permit applications for residential deck construction. We've revised the roof permit application form to help expedite the plan review and inspection processes. With the exception of fire alarm, fire sprinkler, and solar panels, all plan reviews are done in-house. They no longer go out to third-party consultant. For the permit fee schedule, we're working on revamping the permit fee schedule basically for 2 purposes. One, we have to reflect the changes necessary due to the recent rental unit ordinance that was passed by the village board last month, as well as verify that the fees reflect the cost of our providing services, which is essential for the finance director to be able to prepare the budget. From the inspection perspective, we have brought all the property maintenance inspections back in-house. We're no longer using a third-party consulting firm to perform those inspections. We have reinstated business license inspections that are on the books, but they weren't being done for food service establishments, outdoor dining, and the massage spa. We've developed a relationship with the Lincolnshire Riverwoods Fire District and are now performing joint life safety inspections for all our commercial properties, whether that be for the annuals or the business license. Moving to engineering. We have several projects that we're working with GHA for 2024, which include lift station upgrades. We have projects to occur at the Thorngate, Meadow Lake, Trillium, and Wiggum stations. Upgrades of the Timberwood station have already been completed. The Meadow Lake lift station is budgeted for an overhaul in 2024. However, 3 of the stations are in need of a UPS equipment system to prevent a reoccurrence of the backups that had recently been experienced at the Thorngate station. We expect to get quotes on the UPS system work within March so that we can proceed, bring that to the board and proceed with that project post haste. We're looking at the 2024 sewer lining project. We do not have a scope of work yet determined for that. GHA is reviewing the areas of need. The 2024 road program, GHA is working to coordinate the work with the SSAs, and they're looking to have a bid package out by April with a construction start somewhere in April, May of this year. 3 of the 4 SSAs that were contacted will be participating in the program this year. Saunders Road water main replacement bids were received on January 18th for phase 2 of the work, and I'm going to let Engineer Smith update you in her report on that project. And the last one, which is relatively key, is grinder pumps. The grinder pumps, most of them have experienced their end of life and are needed for replacement. We're working with GHA to develop a program related to the replacement and maintenance of those units. Under construction, we have several commercial projects to note. Baby Vegas and the Shops at Riverwoods is the first one. The project is moving at a pace that is slower than a snail. The metal studs and rough plumbing and rough electric have been installed over the last 6 months, which is worse than a snail's pace. The Shops at Riverwoods and Colonial Courts, the shopping centers, and the brunch factory are all being fitted with a new fire alarm system under the direction of the fire district. Anytime Fitness, it's at the corner of the Colonial Courts building. They're currently working on punch list and are anticipating a grand opening sometime later this week. Don't have a date yet. Village Hall remodeling of the finance director's office is essentially complete with the exception of one piece of wood trim that needs to be installed. The Village Hall playground is complete except minor punch list items. We worked with the police department to repair a broken water pipe and restoration of the public restroom after we had to rip down drywall to make repairs. We're looking at HVAC upgrades to the Village Hall and the police department to potentially happen over the next few months. If you take a walk into either side of this building in the back rooms, you'll understand part of the issues. It's got to be 20 degrees cooler there than it is there. So we still have some issues that they're working on. In Lake County, Department of Transportation has a Riverwood Stuffy Road 3R project. This is a county project to resurface, restore, and rehabilitate, which are the 3 Rs. Riverwoods Road from Illinois Route 22 to Deerfield Road, and along Duffy Lane from Riverwoods Road to the I-94 bridge. County is looking at adding and improving non-motorized travel improvements, as well as to improve drainage in this area. Kickoff meeting is scheduled for this Friday. We'll have further updates. Next, we're looking at collecting master service agreements for all of our consultants to formally establish working relationships with them, mainly for financial auditing purposes. We're aiming to bring these to the board for consideration in early March. And the last area in the agreement section is we are reviewing the intergovernmental agreement with Lake County, which covers the maintenance of the sanitary sewer system that is under their purview. Next, the building code effectiveness grading system, which I talked about, I believe, last month. We have a meeting set later this month with Verisk to start that process of reviewing the building department and the codes that regulate construction within the village. As part of that review, we'll be upgrading the version of the international codes that we are governed by to the 2024 version and upgrading all the related code books, such as like the National Electric Code, to be in sync with the new I-codes. Along with that upgrade, we're also working on proposed amendments to the Tree and Woodlands Ordinance and the Stormwater Management Ordinance. In planning and zoning, we're working with Tesca Associates, the village attorney, and the Plan Commission on developing a new plan development ordinance. We've worked with the village attorney and the developer for the Venn Point Townhome project that's going to be located in the Parkway North Center located in Deerfield. We were able to negotiate a cash contribution from the developer to help screen the Thorngate subdivision play lot and several homes that are nearby that location from the project in Deerfield in the event that that project does get approval to construct from the village of Deerfield. We met with a potential developer for a project to be located at 2611 Milwaukee Avenue. We subsequently determined that their project is not a good fit for the property, so that project will not move forward. From a Plan Commission perspective, we have several pending projects, which include the Brunch Factory Gaming, which is still awaiting the submittal of a parking analysis. Camp Bow Wow tenancy at the shops, again, still awaiting a parking analysis. A review of sign permits for Anytime Fitness and Snap Medical Wellness at Colonial Courts. The special use permit, which governs that shopping center, requires a review by the Plan Commission for any signage that occurs at that building. And then we're also looking at a consolidation and a re-subdivision of properties at Orange Brace and Juneberry Roads for the property owners that currently own those properties that would like to build a third single-family residence on that corner. And the last thing of note is adjudication hearings. We are restarting the administrative adjudication system to handle real property violations. Though we've had some success in gaining compliance through the issuance of notices to residents, we currently have 9 citations which have been issued within the last month, with at least 4 more to be issued this week. Types of violations, just so that you know what they're about. Home occupations. We have a resident that's running a car dealership out of his house, literally taking delivery of vehicles and storing them in his front yard. We have another one that's holding training seminars for 20 plus people at a time at their home. We have another party who has turned his front yard into a construction equipment storage area, including construction materials. And we have a vacant building that we're working with on Deerfield Road. We have 2 in the area of building codes. We have construction safety issues where there is danger of people falling into a swimming pool and open trenches and some other issues, including violations of the watershed development ordinance. From a fire code perspective, we have a restaurant that continues to hang flammable curtains inside the restaurant in their exit corridors, which is not permitted. And for short-term rentals, we would have had several citations, but have elected to defer issuance of any citations until the recent ordinance revisions actually become effective. So we've had a dry run of the hearing process that was held last week with the hearing officer and staff. And the first cases will be heard on February 15th, and we can give you an update further on that. So that's my report. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions? Trustee Hollander, please.
On the grinder pumps, are you replacing them based on their age or waiting until they fail?
We want to look at, what we are planning to look at is a full replacement, possibly the entire system over 4 to 5 years, because we have a lot of them that are failing at this point. And some of the pumps are getting replaced with pumps that are old pumps. And we don't want to do that because it's just delaying the inevitable that the thing is going to fail.
Thank you.
Trustee Jamerson.
I'd just like to say it's refreshing to hear that you're busy and all of the things that you're doing. I think it's wonderful, and I really appreciate the fact that you are on staff and following up on all these issues in the village that need to be followed up on. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate your kind words, and that's what I'm here for. Thank you.
Trustee Eastman, please.
I'd just say, excuse me, I second Rick's. I mean, your breadth of what you're undertaking is quite broad, and I appreciate you doing that. And it seems like enforcement is now finally a thing that we're doing, which is, pretty important in terms of keeping order and making sure that our ordinances are complied with. One thing I would add to your plate that I had discussed with Carissa, since you were mentioning road and you were mentioning Riverwoods Road, is Lake Cook Road. That's something where I want to get some visibility, and I know it's a county level project, but you can see with the pothole patching that road is just, obviously involves municipalities that are beyond just ours. But if that's something that we can get any sense from the county as to when they plan on, doing something that's more permanent, that would be really useful, because that road is, I've seen literal chunks of concrete on that road when you get the freeze thaw cycle. So I know it's a challenge, I think, to even figure out what's going on, but put that maybe sort of on your medium-term list.
It is on the list, and I do know that Engineer Smith has spoken directly to the county to put the bug in their ear that we are concerned over it.
Yeah.
I don't believe that we have a formal response on it yet.
Right. I mean, I'm just afraid
we are
when you
trying to keep it at the forefront.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the patching, it's like that's almost impossible for both us and Deerfield. Eventually, it's going to be, you think about Deerfield Road, I mean, it's a multi-year process. So it's something that's important to get started, or at least understand, what their plans are.
Unfortunately, the other thing that needs to be looked at is, and I know that Engineer Smith has made this comment before, that by the time we look at doing Deerfield Road and Riverwoods Road and Saunders Road, to add something like that on top of it would make it like impossible to go east to west within the village.
Fair enough.
So timing is a critical thing. We understand the importance of what's going on, but we also have to be conscious of what we're doing to the traffic pattern here.
For sure. Although I would probably argue that of any of those roads is the only one that really is sort of a hazard in terms of the condition that it's in, and at least will be in, another year or two probably if it continues.
Understood.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Just
Trustee Jamerson.
One quick comment. I believe that Lake Cook is under the jurisdiction of Cook County, not Lake County. And so that's an issue.
Makes it a little harder. Yeah.
Misspoke.
So, Trustee Hollander, please.
I have a question. I don't know if Clarissa knows it or you do. Do we have any follow-up on whether or not the county is going to allow one-way versus two-way traffic on the bridge during their construction? We met with them 3-4 months ago, and they were supposed to give us a follow-up. I have not seen one.
If I remember correctly, their decision was that there was going to be one-way traffic at that point.
Okay,
There's going to be an emergency. There will be an emergency signal there so that police and fire can get through at any point in time.
All right. My memory was they were going to look into it and get back to see if they couldn't maintain two-way traffic. If I can just take 1 minute.
Absolutely.
Because the rest of the trustees may not know this. The plan at the time was to have one-way traffic on when going across the bridge on Deerfield Road, which meant that the opposite direction would need to detour all the way either to 22 or Lake Cook Road.
There might be
I believe the time frame they finally came up with that it was going to be about 3 months.
3 months. And the question was whether or not they would have the ability using flaggers to allow two-way traffic alternating so that that type of a detour, which would occur twice because you have to do it in each direction, because we thought that was a large detour. And that was the reason I was asking.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know.
In situations like this in other places, I've actually seen them put up temporary traffic signals, which now they have on trailers, and they just pull them up, and they can do the police and with the same thing they use at the red lights. So that might be something that we can ask the county about, as opposed to having people detour. I mean, that's an unbelievable detour.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess.
Something to understand too, the whole project is kind of taking about a 6-month delay because of the land acquisition issues. So we have some time here. It's not like something that's got to be decided tomorrow. So we'll bring it back up with them and try to revisit it.
Are there any other questions or comments? And again, I would urge you to take advantage of the fact that we do have a full-time director here to funnel questions to, and perhaps be able to get the answer without going to our village engineer. So that might be your first step. If I could urge you to do that. Okay, moving on. Consultants' reports. Attorney's report, please. Not a snow report either.
When we interviewed Director Witt, we told him nothing ever goes on around here. That's what we said.
I think it was, yeah.
I just have a couple of things from the reports from Tony and Steve. I think you should get the idea. I'm spending a lot less time doing some things that I used to do, which is great. And I'm trying to be more of a resource for them for historical knowledge and filling in gaps and trying to explain how we did things or why we tried to do some things in the past. And I think we're off to a pretty good start. I'm really enjoying working with them. The county, as part of their road widening project, is going to need to acquire some temporary easements from the village and 2 permanent easements. These involve some, I would call them minor strips along Deerfield Road. They've sent us appraisals and offer amounts. I've been talking with our Director of Finance about this. The total amount involved is maybe $60,000 in total for compensation for permanent and temporary takings. You know, a lot of people along Deerfield Road who also have right-of-way areas that the county needs have been getting letters. There have probably been about 30 or 40 letters that have gone out to various property owners. And some of them have hired eminent domain counsel to represent them. Some of them have, you know, called the village and asked us for advice, and we said we don't really give advice on that. One of the decisions the village will have to make is what it thinks it's appropriate to do with respect to these very minor strips. My only concern from a legal standpoint is that one of the temporary takings, as it were, is that they're requesting is over it's about 100-foot wide access strip that is just east of CubeSmart. It's the property that the village owns just east of CubeSmart. And I wanted to clarify with the county that we didn't really want staging or materials. I think they just wanted the ability to go in and out of that because they were going to be doing work right at the street edge of right-of-way with the drive, you know, with the apron, with the curb cut. The other areas that they need are.
Does that affect the access to Thornton's from the east?
No, it's just widening. It's slightly repositioning the main access where CubeSmart is, not the right in, right out.
But that is the main access to Thornton's coming from the east.
Well, it's not going to, it's during construction, it'll always be maintaining the access, but it will, they're widening the area a little bit. They're aligning it with the potential access road to the north. I mean, they're just making some minor adjustments to it. Does that make sense? So, you know, this is something that we've talked about at staff meetings. I've talking to experienced appraisers who could do appraisal work. You know, the amount of money involved is just not significant enough to pay $10,000 or $15,000 for an appraisal for a $60,000 offer. I don't want to undercut the case that anyone else in the village wants to make, but I don't necessarily see the village as having a lot to gain by pushing for more. Now, on the other side of things, and I want to mention this, there's several intergovernmental agreements out there floating around. One is a longstanding one we already have with the county for operation of our help with our sanitary sewer system, and that's one of the things that we've been reevaluating in terms of the services we get and what we pay for that. The county also wants an intergovernmental agreement for the village's local share of the costs that pertain to us for the road project. Those include some pedestrian improvements, enhanced pedestrian improvements, crossings across Port Wine Road, signage, some sidewalk areas we've talked about. And we don't know what the total cost of that is going to be yet. I don't think, maybe, I don't know if we've ever put 4% to what those costs are and come up with a number. At one point, I thought it was a couple $100,000. Does that ring a bell? Okay. Well, there's a cost. There's a local share and there's a cost. And so I'm mentioning this because in a perfect world, and this is not a perfect world, when the county offers us money for some right-of-way strips and acquisitions, we would find a way that amount of money neatly coincided with the amount of money that is our 4% local share. But these are coming out of completely different pockets. And what the person who negotiates on behalf of the county offers is not permitted to take into account some other agreement on which we might reimburse the county. There are some issues that we may have with the county with respect to the comp storage on the Federal Life site. If a developer comes onto that site before the county does the work, the idea always is, you might remember with Lexington, was for that work to be done by the developer ahead of when the county was going to do it. That also was going to be covered in an intergovernmental agreement with the county, that we would find a way to facilitate the developer performing part of the work in advance of the county doing it, and then the county reimbursing us so that we could then enter into an agreement with the developer. So we had a lot of these things in play. That seems to have gone by the way. However, Federal Life has been in touch with us. Their attorney has been in touch with me. They are actively looking for a buyer to buy the Federal Life site. They have been talking to some builders, one of which is a national home builder. We have communicated what we know of the preferences that the board and the plan commission expressed the last go around, and they were looking at a 2-story product on account of that. So I mention that only because I don't know if they'll be under contract. I don't know if that'll ever come to fruition. I hear things that never happen. But if it does, then it would raise the whole issue again, that we would have yet another set of interactions with the county on the comp storage on the Federal Life site. So we've talked about this months ago, and I just thought I would, because it's the county does want us to react to these letters on the easements. Unless the board feels differently, my recommendation is that we just, in good faith, proceed with granting the easements as we need to. I mean, we probably have, 3 or 4 months before they'll be, knocking at the door every day, like, are you going to do something? But I think we just kind of need a sense. The board doesn't have to decide tonight. I just thought I would bring it up that we're going to get a little something on the one hand. They're going to be asked for something else on the other hand. I can't quite figure out how to bring them together. I'm not sure that it's all important. So okay.
Trustee Jamerson, did you have a question on easements?
Well,
Comment?
I was going to answer Attorney Hoover's question, I think. I don't think it makes sense to spend a whole lot of money to fight the county for such a small amount of money. It's just my opinion. So, but what I would also like to add is that what I remember from the original road meetings was that the county is not going to allow any pressurized services such as water or natural gas running underneath the roadway parallel to the road. They can't stop, crossing the road, but they don't want anything parallel to the road. And the question was, we didn't have any of the engineering at the time, and we didn't know if, obviously we don't have natural gas issues. That's not our problem. But we do have water mains that run alongside the road. And I've asked the question before, and I know that the drawings weren't far enough along. Do we know if we're going to have any issues with pressurized water mains under the pavement that we are going to have to relocate? Because they said that was going to be at our expense, and that could be quite expensive.
The last plans that we saw in last discussion, they were only talking about potentially.
Can you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm off for a month and I lose everything. So the last plans we saw, the only area they were possibly looking at relocating the water main is over by the lift station by the bridge, because they didn't know if they were replacing the sanitary line, which is the county's. Since then, they most likely are going to replace it. So therefore, they're going to move the sanitary. And right now, they don't plan on doing any major relocation of the water main. And the last time when they were discussing it, they made no notion that the village would have to pay for that. They would take on the cost of it because they're obviously doing the improvements, causing the shift of the water main.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments that would be helpful to this conversation about easements with granting easements to the county?
That's all I have.
Okay, are there any other questions for the village attorney on any other topic? Okay, thank you very much. All right, village engineer, please. I'm sorry, Engineer Smith, please.
Good evening, everyone. Real quick, just to tell from Director Witt's comments about the road program, we have reached out to all the SSAs that we have contacts for, and actually a couple that we didn't. And we have given them a deadline of this month to let them know if they want to be involved, because our goal is to, as always, the last couple of years, what we've tried to do is move it more to our spring road program instead of a fall road program. I know we got a lot of comments that it was so late in the year and they were worried, obviously, with weather and other conditions that could potentially impact the actual road program. So our goal is to actually start this beginning of May with construction. So they'll be right along the spring aspect of it and wrap it up before the huge summer push of all the other paving improvements such as schools and everything like that really bogged down the contractors during the summer months. So that's what our current projection is to go get everything put together by the end of this month. In March, we'll put together the bid packets and go out to bid, get back to SSAs in April, and then hopefully start in May. So that's all I have.
Any questions for our village engineer? Oh, Trustee Dicken, please.
Yeah. Not sure if this is related to, I'll just say it. So there have been questions regarding the work on Saunders Road. The work seems to not be happening right now, but the roads are still blocked. Is it possible to unblock the roads to non-residential traffic until work is actually scheduled to take place?
I know they did take a break in the month of January, just
They sure did.
projecting Mother Nature, which obviously she had a jerk on us, but they were supposed to resume, but we can reach out to the county and clarify, and if they aren't projected to start, we could request them to take off the signs and allow free flow of traffic. But to our knowledge, in the last schedule that they did send out, they were supposed to be, starting in February. So we can reach out and get a clarification from the county and see if they can pull those.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for our village engineer? Yeah, our village ecologist isn't with us this evening. Plan Commission report, please. Chairman Brightcoff.
Good evening. The Plan Commission met on February the 1st. We continued our discussion about plan unit development criteria, things that we liked, things that we didn't like. The next step will be to look at a revised draft ordinance on plan unit development with criteria in it. And we will meet again on March the 7th. That is it.
Are there any questions for our chairman? Trustee Hollander, please.
Although by the time the Plan Commission completes their work, sends it to the board, and then we either accept it or not, that's probably going to be 2-3 months before we would finish that process. If Lexington comes in with a proposal, are we able to still use what the Plan Commission is presenting to us, at least as some basis for us to evaluate it objectively, or do we have to wait till that's passed and incorporated before we can use those criteria?
I can answer that question. It wouldn't be Lexington because they're not under contract. They've told us that but some other developer on the Federal Life site. The issue for any developer on the Federal Life site is that the current zoning doesn't allow townhomes, let's say, on the Federal Life site. The current zoning is Office and Research 1. So any developer has to request a rezoning. And the question is, what do they request a rezoning to? We don't have a district in the village that, with the exception of the 1R district, and the language in that zoning district was so ambiguous that it proved to be really unworkable. So anyone developing that site is going to have to put together a request for approval under a future ordinance that hasn't yet been adopted. And oftentimes developers will propose ordinances like that because they'll say, well, this is what we'd like the village to consider. And oftentimes before it ever gets to the village board level, staff will work with the developer and come up with a potential ordinance. So the idea here was to have a lot of the homework done on our side so that if a developer comes in, we could say, if you're going to start with any request, we'd like you to start looking at this. So they could choose to ignore us and make a request for something that was, totally out of sorts with what we wanted. But if they were, good developers, they would pay attention to the fact that we've already progressed this far. Because what this ordinance is going to do is it's going to identify the types of characteristics that are considered to be excellence in design, what we're looking for before we would consider approval. So I think it will be very valuable. And if a developer comes to us, it takes them a month to get under contract, a month or 2 months to even do due diligence before they start really coming in with zoning requests. And I think by that time we'll have enough information to say, well, we're working on this draft. You might want to take a look at this, because if you have any hope of approval, it's got to be something that the village is willing to look at.
And I'd add that in the meantime, the Plan Commission has educated itself and had discussions on criteria that it likes and doesn't like. So I think we're farther along than we were before.
Are there any other questions for our Plan Commissioner? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Next on the agenda, the Zoning Board of Appeals report.
And as per normal, I have absolutely nothing to report. And if anybody has any questions, I would love it.
Are there questions for our chairman? Okay, sorry about your luck there. Police report. Right up to the moment, police report, please, Chief.
Well, right up to the moment, on our last call for service, there was a car with its four ways on out in front of Village Hall. It was just found to be a person who just pulled in there momentarily, and they were leaving as I walked out. The rest of the activity is in the police report.
Tragedy averted.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, say again?
That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you for your service. And seriously, thank you for your service. Fire district report. Our fire chief isn't with us this evening. Information and items from the comments from the president. I just would like to note that a year ago at this meeting, we engaged Bill Balling as an interim finance director that went into recruiting, and that is now a human resources. And I will tell you, in the 1 year since, I think you've seen the progress that we've made in professionalizing our staff and moving forward at the, keeping the interests of the village in mind. So I'm sorry he's not here, but there will be a big thank you. So I just wanted to make that public. Moving on, new business. First item of business is approval of a contract for Saunders Road water main replacement with Boulder Contractors at an amount not to exceed $781,230. Engineer Smith, would you like to lead us through that, please?
Yes, again, I give a little bit of history before we go into the current bids. About a year and a half ago, we tried to put in the water main replacement for the whole length of Saunders Road from West Course all the way down to Riverwoods Road, because the Lake County Public Works is coming in and doing a force main job. So we thought, economy of scales, let's jump on their bid to try to get a better price for it. Unfortunately, that is not the route it came in. I think the final bid came in about 1.4, 1.5, was way above the budget, let's just put it that way. So we took a step back, we phased it, and we really concentrated on just a corridor that we continuously see the most water main breaks along Saunders. So that's where we came to this decision of this length. It's about 2,000 linear feet along Saunders, and we went out to bid, and I believe we had about 850, and a couple bids came in under our projected cost. And the other thing I wanted to discuss is we were always talking about, it's always a cost per linear foot that we're looking at water main. Probably a good 5-6 years ago, we were talking about $150 a linear foot. Now you're $450. And just to give you a cost comparison, back when we bid it last year, we were at $404.35 a linear foot to do the water main. This year the bid came out then now it's down to $375.01 per linear foot. So it's dropped some, but I'm really not hopeful that it's going to do another drastic drop anytime soon. I think it's going to kind of hover at this point. So with that, we're recommending moving forward with the project. And Boulder is the one that's currently out there doing the force main work for the county. So they know of all the conflicts, they know of what they're foreseeing going into the project. And so therefore, that's why we're making the recommendation for the contract with Boulder Construction.
Is there a motion for approval, please?
I'll make a motion that we approve the proposal from Boulder Construction for a total of $781,230 for the water main replacement project on Saunders Road.
Is there a second, please? Second. Comments and discussion. I would also like to call on our finance director for comments during this time too.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a comment. I just want to take a minute to weigh in on this item before you. First, I know this replacement project has been in discussion long before I started here, and bid prices came in favorably, and I support moving forward with this work. In the coming weeks, I will be bringing the appropriations ordinance before you, along with the fiscal year budget, based on direction and discussion from the finance workshop we had back in December. I'd like to remind you all that in those discussions, we saw that large capital projects can have an impact on our long-term cash projections and our ability to meet our fund balance policies. This purchase and any other capital projects in the water fund may end up requiring us to move money from the general fund to the water fund at year end in order to meet our fund balance policy. If you recall in the finance workshop, the capital fund presentation that was given was a high spend scenario if we did all the capital projects that were proposed at that time over the next 5 years. And of course, that may not be the case that all those projects are done as we reassess each year and with each project. And even in that high spend scenario, the general funds could help support the other funds up through 2027. The point I want to make tonight is just a reminder that these projects don't happen in a vacuum, and we need to be prepared to discuss how we will support these types of large projects over the coming years.
With that, Trustee Hollander?
I think I'm correct in this. When we move money from the general fund, that's paid by revenues by all residents. And if we move money to the water fund, then that water fund is only used by a subset of residents. And in a sense, we're then subsidizing those people who use village water with monies or funds from people who don't have village water. As a policy in the past, we've generally used user pays. I'm not suggesting that tonight's the right time to deal with this, but I don't want us to forget about the concept of moving money from a general fund to the water fund and shifting the burden of those payments. So when the time comes up, I'll weigh in then, but I didn't want that to slip by tonight.
We wanted to make it, this is a reality check. Financial reality check. That's the intent of the comment. And you might keep that in mind when we start talking about water rates. So, are there any other questions, either for our village engineer or our finance director? Any other comments about the motion on the floor? Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Dickin? Aye. Trustee Eastman?
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson?
Aye.
Trustee Hollander?
Aye.
Trustee Clayton?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Next on the list is approval of the annual woodland maintenance work by Baxter Woodman in an amount not to exceed $13,000. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
This is part of the 10-year plan. And as costs have risen, it's up a little higher than our original 5-year ago estimate of annual costs, just to bring that to your attention. Are there any questions or comments on this? Okay, seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Eastman?
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson? Trustee Hollander?
Aye.
Trustee Clayton?
Aye.
Trustee Dickon?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, we are going to delay the approval of a letter agreement with Gaywald Hamilton. I think there are some ongoing conversations and a wish to bring it to you at a later date. Director Witt, I think you may have alluded to that in your earlier comments. So again, this is an item that will be delayed. There's no old business that I'm aware of. Any visitors wishing to address the board? Randy, Catherine, Russ, Randy. We'll see Randy tomorrow. Okay, seeing no one interested in addressing the board. Committee reports, Finance and Economic Development, Trustee Clayton, please.
No report.
Communications, Trustee Dickon, please.
Very brief report. Last time I gave a report, I spoke about a mailer insert that will be sent out with the bills. I actually have a hard copy of that I'd like to pass out for your review, so grab one and pass it down. And then another quick update is we've recently been notified by Lake County Municipal League regarding some potential litigations that have been hitting municipalities where there's companies who organize to search for images to which municipalities don't have copyrights. So this is a good reminder for us to just revisit all images that we have on the website. And also just a note for all the content contributors, anytime you send us an article to be published, just make sure that you actually own the rights to the image that you attach. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Are there any questions for our Trustee Dickon? Thank you very much. And again, getting more good news on the newsletter. I wish more people would sign up for it. And with the recent delay in trash pickup, you could kind of tell who hasn't signed up because their trash was out. At any rate, and they didn't get the newsletter and all that other, and the announcement from the chief. Next, Woodlands Ecology, Trustee Eastman, please.
Sure, just two quick items. The mayor and I have a meeting scheduled with the appropriate county board person to discuss our representation on the mosquito board. So that's going to be coming up later this month, and we'll update you once we have that discussion. And the other thing I just add briefly is that we have received the RPC's request for the sustainability plan and climate action plan, and the relevant people are discussing it. And I think we'll get back to you guys on that shortly, but that was a very thoughtful submission. That's it.
Are there any questions for Trustee Eastman? Okay, moving along, Land Use and Roads, Trustee Hollander, please.
No report.
Yet, right?
Yet.
Okay, Building Utilities, Stormwater, Trustee Jamerson, please.
The building report's in the packet, and Director Witt explained pretty much everything that I was going to say, so I will not belabor that point. And the Stormwater Committee is meeting tomorrow, so that's all I have.
Hey, are there any questions for Trustee Jamerson? Okay, moving on, Community Services, Trustee Smith isn't with us tonight. Executive session, I see no reason, have heard no reason to go into executive session this evening. So our next meeting is scheduled for February 20th, right here at 7:30. I would remind you that Arts and Riverwoods, the RRA, has an event this coming Friday, the 6th. And if you haven't gotten tickets, maybe you'd like to try to get some. Anything else anybody wants to shout out before I ask for a motion for adjournment? Motion, oh, yes?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed. Thank you.